Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It is a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, our new studio sponsor. We appreciate them joining the program. It is a Wednesday edition, and we will have JC here momentarily, and then we will have JP Shadrick, who's from Westwood One, Touchdown Radio, and also does stuff with the Jaguars, talk a little NFL and college football playoffs with him. If you missed it last night, I figured the Gators would win the game. I didn't think they'd win by 30, but they totally dominated the Tennessee Vols. You will see that happen a lot from the home teams in the Southeastern Conference this year. Let's go to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
All right. So Mike Morgan's not a Wednesday guy this week there, QB. No Mike Morgan today?
I think Mike Morgan was supposed to be on yesterday, now that I think about it.
No, yeah, yesterday. Well, yesterday is Buddy Martin on Tuesday. So you skipped on Mike today, eh? No? All right. No,
I just told you Mike is supposed to be on Tuesdays with Buddy.
Okay. I thought it was Wednesdays. Nevertheless, before we get into this basketball game from last night, I just have to say to our very loyal and steadfast partner and sponsor, Titan MRI, tremendous job. My wife Carmen was scanned yesterday at Titan MRI, and Joe Calorio and the fellas and women at Titan MRI took care of her. I'm going to get a scan there myself here in the coming days, so I highly recommend it for anybody. That she couldn't have been happier when she left. And QB, when you talk about the Titan MRI hotline, it's the Titan MRI hotline, not the Titan MRI hotline. Okay? Get that. It's not the Titan MRI hotline. It's the Titan MRI hotline. I love what those people can do. The technology is top of the state of the art, and they're right off Newberry Road in Gainesville. And I'm sure there are some other locations in Lake City and Ocala, whatever. I just got to say they get my highest recommendation. Those folks are tremendous. So I just wanted to get that in there. And again, thank them for their sponsorship of our program. So QB, last night was just, you talked about the home court, and it just felt like to me that we had two teams, Florida and Georgia, who lost previously. Georgia couldn't throw it in the ocean against Mississippi. They go home, and the home cooking works, and they beat the Kentucky Wildcats, who scored triple digits on Florida. And then here's Florida, who comes home and just pushed Tennessee around as if they didn't even belong on the same court as Florida. And then the only home team that lost would be your Vanderbilt Commodores to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, who are waking people up. And then, of course, Texas lost to Auburn. So the home teams went 2-2, but the two teams that won were emphatic with their wins, and good for Florida and good for Georgia, actually. But what a great night of basketball in Gainesville. That team really came out and dominated.
Yeah. Georgia's got a really good team. They got a couple of really good players, by the way. So they'll have a good year for sure. Okay, now the deal is working here, Zach. I think it says let me in. All right. In the meantime, we got some YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Where did this one go that I wanted to read? First of all, okay, hang on. I'm going to turn off the phone.
Good Lord, QB. You've all been doing this for how many years now? How many years, QB? There he is. Oh, no.
One time. You can't walk and chew gum. All right.
Oh, look, there you are.
Yeah, we had to reboot, I guess. Mark says, who the hell ranked them number one? That team was not even a top 10. Mark. They are Final Four damn good. They had an off night. It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, a night like that's going to happen to the Gators this season.
You think
Well,
so?
I hope not either, but it's just it's college basketball, people. It's college basketball.
So, I mean, the good teams are good. Good teams usually beat bad teams. I'm not saying Tennessee's a bad team. You're right.
Tennessee is a top 5 team.
You think so? You think that team last night is a top 5 team? Really?
Yes, I do.
And why is that? Tell me why. I got to hear.
Because they were undefeated. They beat a really good Illinois team at Illinois. Just JC, you don't think they're a top 5 team?
That team I watched last night was not a top 5 team.
Okay. All right. Who's your top teams then?
Well, I like Auburn. I like Florida.
Auburn struggled last with the bad Texas team.
Auburn is Auburn. No, damn well they're a top 5 team.
I know they are, but they struggled last night. So does that mean they're not a top 5 team?
Well, QB, they didn't score 43 points though. And I think you've got Duke. I definitely think Duke is the top 5 team. I mean, they blow people out. They win on the road. They're well coached. I'm holding off on judgment with Tennessee, Kentucky. I'm sure they'll be top seeds. I don't know if they'll be a 1 seed. All I can tell you, QB, is that if you're
don't be mad because you bet on Tennessee.
I think Alabama. I think Alabama's the top 5 team. I'll just say this: to me, right now, rankings are ridiculous. We can't even. Let's not even go to what's top 5 and what's top 5 because I don't think they mean anything, QB. Your number 1 team in the country does not lose by 30 to anybody. And yeah, they had an off night, but that's not true. Give me an example if you can find one after the show.
I don't really care to look. I'm just telling you, if you don't think Tennessee is one of the best teams in America, you're
I didn't say that. I just said today on January the 8th, they're not the number 1 team in the country. There's no chance of that. Not that group that couldn't throw it in the ocean last. That is not a top 10 or top 1.
Well, they demolished Arkansas Saturday.
So
Arkansas is pretty damn good.
They're all right. Florida will beat them too. You watch. I'm telling you right now.
Do you think Kentucky's any good?
I did. Yes, I think they're good.
Okay. Do you think Georgia's any good?
I don't think these teams are top 5 teams. Not yet. I don't think we know who's the top 5 team.
It doesn't matter. The bottom line is in the NCAA basketball tournament, there will be 12 teams minimum that get in from the Southeastern Conference, and any of them can go deep. Any of them. You just mark my word on that.
I'll tell you what I like. I like that team they got in Starkville, and I like that team in Auburn. I like that team in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, all those teams are going to lose on the road.
By 30?
It doesn't matter if they lose by 1 or 30. It doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
What does it matter?
That team was never in the game last night, QB.
Because they got their asses taken to them. It happens.
I think I just said that. That's what I'm saying.
So it's one game and you don't worry about it. It's not football. It's one game, you move on, and Tennessee will destroy people from here on out.
That's not the one of the best teams.
Okay. All right. Well, we're not going to talk about it, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm just responding to what you said. I don't agree with it.
I think Tennessee is very good.
I didn't say, dude. I'm not saying they're not very good or good, but if I had 5 teams to pick, they wouldn't be in the top 5.
Okay. All right. We'll see when it's all said and done.
Well, that's about 3 months from now. So maybe
I know that, but what I'm saying is, JC, there are many people that have been on my program that are basketball analysts that know a hell of a lot more basketball than me.
You know what? I don't need an explanation on how much basketball I learned. All I know is that team got beat by 30 freaking points, and a top 5 team doesn't lose by 30 if they're truly a top 5 team. Now, maybe they'll end up as a top 5 team, but I'm sorry, you can't find an example in history where the best teams in the country lose by 30 on the road. I can't.
But here's the thing. What does it matter if a team loses by 30 in a game? What does that matter?
It matters they were outclassed. It means they were outplayed. It means they were dominated. That's what it means.
Yeah. And then that happens whether you lose by 20, 15, or 30. You get your ass beat. You forget about it, and you move on and play the next game.
Oh, I got no doubt they'll forget about it and try to move on and play the next game. But I'm just going by what we saw last night. And it doesn't matter how much damn X's and O's I know about basketball. These guys who you think know so much about basketball, they're not picking the national champion right now. They don't know who's going to cover the spreads. They don't know how many points are going to be
Well, you
scored.
picked Tennessee last night. Let's be honest.
I did, but
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, I was dead wrong.
Okay.
I was dead wrong.
All right.
I mean,
Zach says he thinks Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, A&M, Alabama are better than Tennessee. Maybe they are. We'll see. We'll see. I could care less. It's one game because I know how basketball works. It's just like football. Everybody they get worried when a team loses, and then they go and win the next week, and then everybody forgets about it. So Reggie says getting blown out in basketball is different. You can come back the next night and shoot lights out. Agreed, 1,000. Reggie obviously played basketball.
Duke won by 30 last night.
It doesn't matter if we win the
12,
game on a last-second shot or we win by 30. It's a great win, and you move on. I think
it absolutely matters. I think that works on your head when you get run over like
JC. No,
you don't agree with that?
No. If you're an athlete, they're going to watch it. I guarantee you that Rick Barnes and them don't even watch the tape.
No, I'm sure they don't. They don't.
Because that's happened when Coach Spurrier, when we got our ass beat in football, we wouldn't even watch the tape. It's happened in the National Football League teams. You get your ass beat, things just didn't go well, you forget about it and you move on. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. The SEC prides itself on it just means more. Well, this year's basketball season, home court just means more. Great win for the Gators. Thanks for the text, Daryl. All right, so there's more SEC basketball games tonight. Tomorrow, we will have the first college football playoff game. I have a thing on YouTube that this guy sent, and I don't read them all, but sometimes I'll just scroll through them. And this right here is just this right here is the kind of stuff that just makes me laugh. And I only read it because I think it's just ignorant. If I could pull it up, where'd it go?
What is ignorant, QB?
Okay, you tell me if this is ignorant.
Okay.
So Shane, what is going to be your excuse next year if Napier is still calling the plays and gets fired? Okay. Well, I have no excuse. I could care less who calls the plays. I could care less if he gets fired or not. I just tell you what my thoughts are for this gentleman here. I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. Does that make any sense?
Well, I think he's basically saying, and I look, whether he calls plays or not, they better win 9 games next
But here's the thing. But the guy says, what is going to be my excuse? I have no excuse.
Well, maybe he thinks you have a position that you can't defend. I don't know. Maybe
I mean, it's just a dumb comment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, he doesn't think it's dumb. Maybe you think
it's dumb telling me what is my excuse. I have no excuse. I have you, me, every million person listen to this program right now have zero effect on who calls plays, who tackles, who blocks, or anything.
But you're being paid millions and millions to talk about it, and
I give my opinion.
Right.
Everybody has an opinion, but what I'm saying is my opinion has nothing to do. There's no excuses, is what I'm saying. I don't give a damn what happens.
Yeah.
All I care about is
maybe what
my 7-iron is not hitting the ball solid or not. That's all I care about.
What is your excuse for that? No, but maybe what he's trying to say is, what is your explanation?
My explanation is, I've said multiple times, I do not think they're going to hire an offensive coordinator. We've talked about this a million times.
I don't know.
And if they do, great. Does that going to make your offense any better? I don't know. If Billy calls plays, will we be any better? I don't know. But I'm going to talk to JP Shadrick about this. Why in the hell Doug Peterson ever let anybody else call the plays when he was hired because he called plays and won a Super Bowl?
Yeah. Well, I think that was a mistake for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it cost him his job and probably cost Trevor Lawrence's health and who knows what else. I mean, my God, they regressed. That team, under Shad Khan, I think for 12 years that he's been probably the worst owner in terms of wins and losses of any owner in the NFL. And in the NFL, and JP will agree with this, I think so will Frank Frangie. If you have a bad ownership group, you're going to probably, in all likelihood, have a bad team. And we saw what Washington did with a, believe it or not, new ownership group. They won 12 games for the first time. And Chris Harry could tell you how many years it's been since Washington has won 12 games. but it's probably been 2 decades. And with a new ownership group, look what happened. They went and got a quarterback. But it's just incredible to me how some of these owners, Woody Johnson, the guy in Indianapolis, Irsay, the guy in Jacksonville, Khan, Arthur Blanks, even shooting blanks basically in Atlanta, giving Kirk Cousins all that money, hiring Raheem Morris, a retread. It's just awful decision-making. That's what leads to bad teams. And Robert Kraft is unfortunately just making Gerard Mayo an excuse for his ineptitude. Some of these old guys like Jerry Jones and Kraft, they are just over the hill, dude. They're over the hill, and they're not getting results because I don't think they know what they're doing anymore. And they need to move aside and let some younger guys get in there.
All right, we're going to respond to a couple of these things or read some of these and then get to our picks. Shelvin says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, more than ever in college athletics, great teams are going to get blown out because after a while, the players pack it in during a blowout. Tennessee packed it in.
That's true. That's true. But QB, before it got out of hand, they were down 14 or 12 to nothing. They didn't look like.
I know. I'm just reading what they said. JC, don't yell at me.
Well, you pick what you read too.
No, I picked your buddy. Here's one for you. Your buddy on the Titan MR text line, Cottondale. He says JC doesn't understand coaching. It's not about exercise. It's about working through a long and grinding season. You don't put too much on one game, whether good or bad. Tennessee could go in the tank and come back later in the year, guns blazing. They could bounce right back in the next game. I expected JC to be more level-headed than this, acting like these millenniums that live and die with everything that happens. Such a roller coaster way to live.
Not the problem. You know, Chris, I'm sure that you'll get over very quickly my way of living in about a minute and a half when the show's over. But I appreciate your concern. Having said that, last night, that team had no idea what it was doing. And I don't care if they packed it in the second half because they knew they couldn't win or not. From the very beginning, when they got off the plane at Gainesville Regional Airport, they did not know what they were doing. That's all I'm saying. And Rick Barnes is the Hall of Fame type of coach.
Yeah, understand they knew what they were doing. They got off to a bad start and it just snowballed.
Understand that. They just didn't have it last night.
All right, so we got a million people on
Wait a minute. I'm responding to Cottondale. I'm just saying last night, that guy on this date in history did not know what the hell hit him. Neither did that team. And it doesn't matter what my X's and O's.
JC, here's what I will say.
Rick from Cottondale or Steve.
How do you win basketball games?
You score more points than the other team.
Tennessee could not. Some of their shots would go in and then rattle and bounce. I mean, look, they only made 12 shots all night, the entire game, and 3 of those were in the last minute.
Pretty bad.
Okay? So it was just a bad shooting night, and they just got their ass beat. It's that simple. A ton of people are talking about us turning down Will Muschamp, defensive coordinator. Jim says Muschamp wanted to bring his own guys in. UF didn't want to do that and risk losing players to boot. Bingo. Bingo. I didn't say this. Jim said it. I have said multiple times, when you go hire coordinators, they want the people that know their system. And you're going to have to make room for them or you're not going to get them. Now, I don't even know if the Will Muschamp thing is true or not. Obviously, our listeners know more than I do.
Me too.
Because I don't know why Will would want
to have a son playing football for somebody.
His son is a backup quarterback at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'd be thinking about. My God, I'd be going to Vanderbilt games, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what he was doing this year.
Well, there you go. I don't think he's got any intentions. He's already been here. We've done that. He's back here.
Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations, Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. We got JC here on the International Diamond Center.
I like all these guys. Let's read some of the guys that agree with JC. How about this one? Making 12 shots in an entire game proves JC's point.
There you go.
There you go. Let's see.
I can promise you one thing. They will never, ever in the history of Tennessee basketball make less than 12 in a game again. I can promise you.
Probably not.
All right, let's get to our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry at Port Charlotte. Go check them out, peachlanddental.com. All right, we got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, we don't have to do.
Well, we could. You want to do the 2 playoff games?
Let's just do. Well, you're going to be here Friday, right?
Yeah, I'll be here Friday. I'll be in Biloxi, but I can do Friday. But we can still talk about. All
right, let's go ahead and pick the 2 college games.
All right. Well, the 2 college games obviously are these guys, Notre Dame, and I lost my Penn State visor. It's over there, but Notre Dame, listen, all the credit in the world for Marcus Freeman, the way they've come back after that second loss of the year. Penn State, though, I think if you line up everybody in a line and say, I want him, him, and him, matches up with Notre Dame, and I think they win the battle at tight end with Tyler Warren. I think they win the battle at running back with those two running backs, Singleton and the other guy. I think they win the battle at quarterback with Drew Aller. And I think they're on defense just as physical as Notre Dame. That doesn't mean they're going to win, but if you're giving me 1.5 with that, the way they're going right now, I think I'll take it. I like Penn State to cover in this game, even though I'm wearing the Notre Dame Golden Domers. I'm a Catholic, and if they win, I will root for them to win the national title unless it's against Texas. But I just don't think right now they're going to beat Penn State. So I'll take in the Nittany Lions with Drew Aller and Tyler Warren taking care in that running game, taking care of business on the Orange Bowl, in the Orange Bowl.
I don't know what to think about this game. They're like the same damn football. Both teams are the same to me.
Keely, do you think Notre Dame has as good a quarterback?
I like Riley Leonard. I just like he has a lot of the intangibles you can't teach, but I don't think either quarterback is great. I think Aller's probably a better thrower.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard's the better runner. I mean, these are carbon copies. I mean, it's like watching the same team.
Yeah, they're very similar. I think Penn State with that running attack.
I will just – who did you pick?
I took Penn State.
Okay, I'll just take Notre Dame. I don't think either one of these teams has a chance to beat the winner of the next game.
Well, let's say this. If you're betting on these games or just picking them, Ohio State's laying 6 points to Texas in Dallas. Okay, that's crazy to me. You're talking about the Ohio State team that played the last two games. You are not talking about the Ohio State team that struggled against this team right here, who should have and could have beaten them. And you're not talking about the Ohio State team that did lose to the awful Michigan Wolverines. Those things happen, and that Ohio State team could pop up. But I think since the Michigan game, and I think losing to Michigan was the best thing that could have happened to Ohio State. It woke them up, and nobody can block Jack Sawyer. Not one person on that field can block Jack Sawyer. And if they keep playing like this, I don't care if they're playing Texas in Austin or Dallas or wherever, they will cover and beat the Longhorns. I hate to say it because I'm rooting for an SEC team school here. I don't think Texas can stay 4 quarters with the team that we saw the last 2 games. I think Texas can beat the team that played Michigan and these guys in Nebraska, but they cannot beat the team that's played the last 2 games. I'm going to lay the 6, but I hope I lose that bet.
Yeah, I like Ohio State too. I like the way they're playing. I mean, they're utilizing their skill guys the way they should. Nobody will change my mind that I do not think Quinn Ewers has been healthy. And we know he's still wearing the ankle brace, whatever his injury was. But he also had I remember the Texas game. He came back for the OU game. He had previously hurt something in his rib cage or whatever. He just does not look like the same player to me.
Well, if you give him some time to throw the ball back there, he may have a chance. But if they're all over him, forget it.
Yeah, I like Ohio State too. Like I said, I think whoever wins the Ohio State-Texas game will win the national.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, Penn State's already played them. Now, Penn State played them tough too. I mean, Penn State was on the 5-yard line with a chance to go ahead of Ohio State in that game, but it was in Penn State.
John says that awful Michigan team beat your Tide.
Who were awful. I mean, that one night Alabama beats Georgia and LSU. The next night they lose to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. My God. There's something to be said for consistency. We're going to find out in basketball who's consistent, like we were talking about earlier, and who's not. And that's going to determine, I think, how far they go in the tournament. But in football, Alabama was the model of inconsistency because they looked really good in some games and they looked really bad in others. But Michigan is bad throughout the year. They were not good QB. You saw them play. They couldn't throw the ball 10 yards in the air. And yet their defense was good enough to win at Ohio freaking State. That was the biggest surprise of the year, if you ask me, in college football, was what Michigan did to Ohio State. And they just, I think the way Texas is going to have to play this game is be very aggressive. Sark's going to do it. They have to match the physicality of Ohio State up front. They will do that. But I don't know. I just think that if Ohio State gets a lead and they get rolling, it's going to be a long day. Now, Texas is matched up with them athletically, man for man. I don't doubt that at all. So.
Yeah. Jay on YouTube brought by Quavis. Can we give UF credit for dominating the number 1 team in the country? We did. They dominated them.
Dominated. And that's why – and take nothing away from Florida. But my God, if that's the number one team in the country, well, it's not today. Let's just be honest. It's not. Maybe it will be at the end of the year, but it's not today.
All right, I saw this. I took a shot at this. This is how crazy college football is, JC, before we let you go here.
Okay.
Listen to this. Not a single player who received individual or first team all Sun Belt honors this year. Sun Belt is the Troys, I think Marshall, South Alabama's that level of football.
Good teams. Yeah.
Not one player will be back with the same team in 2025.
Yeah. Wow.
All of them have transferred.
Golly. Well,
think about that.
They're hunting money.
That would be like the all SEC teams, first team, second team, third team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Playing somewhere else next year.
Yeah, Marshall, everybody left. That's why they couldn't play their bowl game, QB. They didn't have a team. Literally, they did not have a team. QB, real quick before you let me go, John, Jon, John, wants to know my diet. Yeah, well, John, it's simple. I took the semaglutide and the terazepatide, which is Ozempic and Mounjaro, otherwise known as Zepbound and Wegovy. I've been taking those shots. They have helped me contain my consumption. I don't drink nearly as much or eat nearly as much. And I have to exercise at the gym now 3 or 4 times a week. And just like that, I've lost 30 pounds. I've gone from 214 to 183. And my clothes are all too big on me. So I'm down from a 38, 40 waist down to a 34. 36. It's I think it was very important. So go for that. Talk to your doctor. Try those medications. They absolutely work. At least I'm believing in them. I'm going to get my mom on them too. I just think it's a miracle what they can do. And I hope you have luck losing weight, John. It's hard to do as you get older. It's very hard to do.
All right. We just had somebody chime in on the Titan MR text line wanting to bet you for something, Jason.
Okay.
He tells
I went
a $50 bet on Hard Rock for Texas to win pays $142.50. All right. We got to get to JP and talk some real quick. Reggie says, Shane, did you watch the first TGL format? I guess basketball's flipping through. I saw it. I'm like, nobody will ever convince me that's worth watching.
That'll go away in about.
I think it's so dumb.
It'll go away. So it's ridiculous. So is shooting 35 under in a PGA Tour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the technology is great. But watching those guys do that, I'm like, that's so dumb. That's like watching the quarterbacks at the damn Pro Bowl do the stupid throwing contest. All right, JC, have a good day.
Adios.
That's JC joining us on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort. Quick come out. When we come back, we'll be joined by JP Shadrick from Westwood One. Also covers the Jaguars, talk a little college and NFL. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back. Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security System, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Unleash the Inferno.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center studios. There are many car washes in Gainesville, but only one Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. 3 locations. Go check them out, Gallo Car Wash. Back to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by JP Shadrick, who's a man who does many things for Westwood One, Touchdown Radio, helps cover the Jags. Good morning, JP. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. The off season is upon us now, so some would say this is a good time of year. I don't know. I have a weird balance of that. It's good to have some time down. However, it'd be nice to be doing playoff football right now. So, and not having to worry about a head coach hire. So there's a lot going on without a lot going on.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the NFL and the Jags, let's talk real briefly. Tomorrow night, Friday night, we got the semifinals. Who do you like in those games? Who do you think wins the national title? You called several college games this year for Touchdown Radio. Who do you like in these games?
These are all fantastic blue blood programs. Now, I did Penn State, right? So, that was earlier in the year, and in that game I did against Ohio State, there was a moment late in that game in the fourth quarter. They had first and goal. They had it at the 3, and they didn't give it to the tight end at all. They didn't hand it to him. They didn't look at him. They didn't throw it to him, and it cost him the game. Well, he corrected that the next week and did a direct snap to Tyler Warren a couple times and fell in for a touchdown. So, I think he learned his mistake on that one. If your best player on the field is number 44, find a way to get that guy the football. And I think that'll be a big key in this game. How does Notre Dame handle Tyler Warren, the tight end? I think he's a dynamic, fantastic player and a guy who can really make a big difference for Penn State if they utilize him the right way. And then Ohio State's just playing the best football of their life right now. I mean, these guys, they've flipped a switch after that Michigan game and the time off. It felt like handled Tennessee with ease, just kept on rolling and in the Rose Bowl. And these guys are on a roll right now and ready to go. And I don't know if they're playing like this. I don't know who's going to stop them, including Texas. Now, I know it'll be a Texas crowd. It'll be all that. It's at AT&T Stadium, Jerry's World in Texas, all that, But with Ohio State, if they get out to a big lead and shut them up, that could be a long day for Texas.
I agree. All right, so Doug Peterson out as the head coach for the Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson's a good football coach. I don't know what happened. A couple years ago, they're in the playoffs. He's very creative on offense. I've never understood why guys give up the play calling, if that's why they got a job or won a Super Bowl. Were you surprised that Doug was let go?
Surprised maybe, but not shocked. Just the way it felt the last 2 months of the season, especially, it just kind of felt sluggish, slow. The whole process, the whole practice time to how they moved the operation of the game, and there was just certain things that just didn't feel right. And for whatever that is, I don't know if I have a true definition of that, but it just didn't. It didn't feel right. Now, there were a bunch of injuries and things you can lean on, that they didn't have their top frontline guys out there a lot. But I think it was just, looking back on it now, and hearing Shad Khan talk the other day, the Jaguars owner, he took a long, hard look at both sides, felt like the operation on the football administration side was a pretty good process. They felt like they've had good people in place. They feel like they've drafted pretty well the last couple of years. I can argue the free agency was terrible last year, but the coaching was what needed the immediate move in Shad Khan's opinion. So just not getting over the hump in close games. They were 3-10 in one-score games, and that he referenced that a bunch in his comments the other day. So it's hard to survive that, especially the way they started last year, 8-3. From that point forward, they didn't finish the job, and the owner felt like the coaching and the leadership of the football team was the reason why. And we'll find out. You know, I mean, he might be wrong on that later if he hires somebody else and they keep losing one-score games. It's a whole lot more than that. You never know.
So the laundry list of names, Ben Johnson's at the top of it, huh?
He's at the top of everybody's list. I mean,
Right.
you've watched the Lions this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of that, right? I mean, that would be fun to watch every Sunday in person. But, and that's the funny thing we talk about on our shows here, Shane. It's like, you don't know if these guys are going to be good head coaches. They might can call plays and do things. Can they stand in front of a room and, call timeout at the right time and, manage situations in game and discuss things with the referees in a heated moment when you need it? I mean, can they handle all that? I mean, that's really what the NFL head coaching job a lot of times is. You're a manager of all these people and not necessarily calling plays. And going back to Doug Peterson on that thought, yeah, I mean, he and Press Taylor flip-flopped a little bit a couple of years ago and kind of went back and forth. They felt that they had the same ideas on that offense, that it was the same person doing it each time. It's hard to do. Not many head coaches can handle the play calling and all the management of the in-game situations. There are only a very few that do it and do it well, and you got to have that right person. So, are these guys going to be good head coaches? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, they're good play callers. It looks like, but let's see through the process. What kind of program are they going to put together, and can they play well with the general manager? I think that's a big key in this thing.
And there's a lot of head coaches that don't call plays that can't handle time management and other things.
Right, yeah. And that's an epidemic
unbelievable.
across all levels of football, by the way.
Yeah,
It's not the NFL.
it's not just for the Gators. It's not just at this. It's everywhere in the National Football League. It happens every freaking week.
And there's people in the box that's their job, is to tell the coach when to call timeout. Hey, we need it in this. Hey, we suggest you call it in this situation, and it still gets handled improperly.
Yeah, Andy wanted to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, who would you say would be the MVP of this year?
For the Jags?
No.
Oh,
in the National
so it's like
Football
we're going to say, wait a minute, 4-13. Me, I don't know. I mean, I saw Lamar Jackson in person on Saturday. I had the Ravens, and it's hard to argue against what he brings to this Ravens team, especially with the balance of the running game behind. The argument is he's got the running back with him doing a lot of the work too. 1,900 yards for Derrick Henry. I get it, but Lamar Jackson's skill set is dynamic. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's hard to beat. But what Josh Allen did the last month of the season is pretty darn dynamic too. And I think there's a real argument there. I just like the way Lamar plays a different style of football that a lot of people can handle. He's got the wheels to do it. He's proven this year that he's got the arm talent and the patience sometimes in the pocket to throw it downfield. And that combination, I think, is a big reason why, especially with Henry beside him, why they are where they are right now, division champion again. So I'd lean towards Lamar, but it's a neck and neck race, man. This is going to be a tight one.
Yeah, he's had a phenomenal year. I'm still one who, Lamar's never going to be a great thrower, but he's gotten better and he's made plays when he had to make them. I think Jaden Daniels is kind of a Lamar clone. We'll see as his career goes on, because he's just smooth, and I think he's a much better thrower than Lamar. But
and the other argument is Saquon, right? I mean, and what he did with Philly, knowing they're going to run the ball, and when they know you're going to run, he can still run and do things to you. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. So his dynamic play has brought the running back position. He and Derrick Henry have brought it back to life in the NFL. It was nearly dead because they're a dime a dozen. You can get them. You beat them up for 3 years. You go get another one in the 5th round. Like that's normally that's the mindset in the NFL. Maybe not anymore. If you have that dynamic, big time, game changing running back, it could be back.
Yeah, this text on the Titan MR text line is referring to Ben Johnson, saying, "Do we really know how good a play caller he is? I think he has 7 first-round picks on offense that he's able to use." Well,
yeah. Well,
I mean, if you lose as much as the Lions have lost over the years, they're going to have a bunch of first-round studs, right?
That's how it works.
But he's very creative. I love what he does. Obviously, as you said, Ben Johnson is going to be interviewing with Jags. He's going to interview with the Bears, probably some other places. I mean, where do you think we won't know, but Obviously, the Raiders is open now. New England's open. I don't know if any other jobs will come open.
There's 5. The
But,
Jets are open too.
but if you look at Ben Johnson to the Jags, I would think Brunell comes with him because Brunell's the quarterback coach for the Lions. I'm just thinking out loud here. Warm weather climate. Does Ben Johnson want to look at Chicago? I think they got really good skill guys on offense, but you got that weather to deal with, and you're playing in the same division you just left, and it's a bloodbath week in and week out. Just your thoughts on if you were Ben Johnson, where would JP look?
Yeah, there's a lot of positive check marks around the Jaguars, right? In that regard. An owner who doesn't meddle, from the outside looking in, you might think, okay, wait a minute. No, he provides every resource imaginable to the football side. And you can argue he's picked the wrong guys sometimes to lead that effort, but he's spending money, and they've spent money on free agency, and he's not scared to do it. And they've got a new building, and they've got all the things and the resources you can imagine. So in that regard, he's going to give you time if your process is strong, and he believes in it, and you believe in it, and it's showing productivity and improvement year after year, right? That's the idea here. And everything goes with it. I mean, you got the quarterback here for 6 more years. That's a done deal. You don't have to worry about that. If you can get him to turn the corner, I think that's obviously priority number one. Who handles the quarterback? Who gets this guy better? Who turns into an elite top 5 quarterback in the NFL? He's not there yet. Hasn't proven it yet. He's been hurt a lot. He makes silly mistakes sometimes still. That's going to be the big priority here. And but you got all that. You got a defensive end, 2 defensive ends that are first-round picks. You got to work on the defense and the secondary a lot. There's a lot to be desired there. They didn't play well at all this year. But there are pieces here and that you can build around, and I think do it fairly quickly. I'm not saying an overnight turn, but again, they win half those one-score games this year. We're not having this conversation. We're talking about a playoff team. So they're knocking on the door if you get the right leadership in and a couple of key pieces around the ones you have. So I think those are all reasons why this has got to be near the top of the list in terms of jobs in the NFL this year.
They're about concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A few more minutes with JP Shadrick talking a little NFL. Asa's question, comments on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Ask JP about why Trent Baalke keeps sticking with the Jaguars when their player personnel decisions are absolutely horrible and are directly his result.
Well, how much time do we have? I mean, we got, there's an argument there, right? I mean, because a lot of people see the track record of Trent Baalke from San Francisco and his history with the 49ers, right? And his history with head coaches in San Francisco. The legend is that he and Harbaugh had a falling out, and that's why Harbaugh left and went to Michigan. And then Tom Sula comes in 1 year, Chip Kelly comes in 1 year, and they finally blew the whole thing up. He was out for a while working for the NFL, came back in the last year of Doug Marrone, but was the personnel guy then under the GM, was the interim GM after Dave Caldwell was fired, and then took the job when Urban Meyer came in as the head coach, right? That didn't work out. He stuck around. So a lot of fans kind of equate that to that experiment, 2021 and the Urban era. Yeah, the free agency stuff this year was not great. Eric Armstead didn't do anything. He was, the other day in the locker room, I asked him, "Hey, are you better inside or outside on the defensive line?" He's been a Pro Bowl defensive tackle, mind you, in his career. He played a lot of defensive end this year and got blocked. They didn't do anything, and they were moving him around late in the year. So, what's that about? That didn't play well at all. A lot of the other guys that they've had have been banged up. I mean, Gabe Davis didn't do anything. He was hurt. Now, the other argument for Trent Baalke is that he's drafted fairly well the last couple of years. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., they traded back twice.
He's good.
And got him, right? And still got him. And he's really good. And he's a guy you can really build around on the offensive side. So there's some misses. Every GM has some misses. Every GM usually has some hits. If they don't, they're out of there in a hurry. But I think, like I said earlier, I think Mr. Khan, the owner, really liked the organization that Trent Baalke has built from everything in the building, the way it operates on the football side, on the personnel side. You just got to pick better players and sign better free agent players. But the process is there. Process is a key word for the owner. He's an engineer by trade. So if the process is strong, he believes results will come, and that's why Trent Baalke's still around right now.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the playoffs. Who does JP like moving on and possibly playing in the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, it's hard to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I hate to be so bland, but they know how to win. They're at home. They've got 22 days off or whatever they're going to have without the starters playing. Does that hurt them? I don't think so. They know how to come off this. They can play. Like I said, if the Ravens get rolling with that running game and balance, okay, they can be a little bit of a problem. They got some pieces on defense. You talk about homegrown talent. That's a team and an organization that knows how to do it right. I mean, everybody on that team is drafted there and developed there, and that's the model everybody's looking for. So if they get hot, look out for those two. And the Bills will get, they'll move along after this first round. They'll knock off the Broncos, but can they, when it matters, can they go to Arrowhead? I don't know if anybody else can go to Arrowhead and do it, but the Bills might have the opportunity to go do it. So can they, in the big moment, actually get it done? And I don't know. I don't think there's any solution for that. On the NFC side, I mean, the Commanders are a fun story. How long does it last? I don't know on that. The Lions looked great the other night on defense. They got some guys coming back. I mean, the linebacker or defensive end was back, so that's a big key on the Anzalone. So a big key on their defensive side. We know what the offense is all about. But boy, when I like the Eagles, man. I really do. There's some head scratching things Sirianni did early in the year. He survived them. This is a long answer to a short question. I like the Eagles. I like the Chiefs, and I think
Eagles,
that's one
Chiefs.
hell of a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I said a couple years ago, JP, I think Pat Mahomes is going to, if he can stay healthy and as long as Andy Reid is the coach, he will go to more Super Bowls than Brady. I know that's kind of a dumbass comment, but he's been in the league, what, 6, 7 years? He's gone 5 or 6 times. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much like a early February. Go ahead and book your hotel when the schedule comes out. I mean, they're going to be in the conversation, and especially if they're healthy, and especially now if they're getting some weapons down the field back. Right, Hollywood Brown the last couple weeks, they get him really going, and then here comes Mecole Hardman coming off. They started his clock the other week, so he might be back. If they have those guys rolling and can stretch it, you ain't stopping it. There's just no way. They're too crafty underneath with all that stuff over the top.
All right, last thing for you before we get you out of here. Where do we stand with Fred T and the Hall of Fame voting and all that stuff?
He's a finalist. He's one of the 15, and we'll find out, I guess, later in January when they do the actual vote. He'll be, so to speak, in the room for the second year in a row, so he'll have his case bandied about and argued by the selector from Jacksonville, Sam Kavoris, will present him again from who used to be at Channel 4. And that's the process. That one person presents, they talk about it, they vote, and they move on. And I think last year the reporting was the conversation around Fred was the shortest of all the 15. So not necessarily the best of starts, but hey, he's in the room, right? And he's still back in there, and the conversation will continue. This is a pretty good opportunity, I think, for him this year. He's the only running back among the finalists. And, it's a class that doesn't have a whole lot of first ballot guys in my opinion. So maybe this is the year, because you wait another couple years and all of a sudden here comes Phillip Rivers and here comes Drew Brees and here come the running backs, Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, and all these guys that have more accolades in terms of Pro Bowls and things like that than Fred. Fred's just as deserving, if not more so. And maybe this is the year, because it can get really tough, I think, after this. But it could be it could be a long prize. It took Pacelli like 7 times. Yeah. So just got to be patient. It's hard to be patient. Fred wants to be in there for sure. And I think one day he'll be in there, and that would be one hell of a party in Canton, Ohio. I can't wait to go to that one.
Yeah, he deserves it for sure. JP, we appreciate your time, my friend. Happy New Year to you. And let everybody know if they want to follow you on Twitter. You got it. What do you got going on now here in the off season?
I got a whole lot of nothing. Yard work, Well, we're chasing a coach right now, so whatever the white smoke comes out and they figure out what that is, we'll have reporting around that on Jaguars.com, at JP Shadrick on X. And we've got all the things, but we're going to kind of wind it down after this week. It gets really quiet for a few weeks, some time away after a busy season. And once the Super Bowl ends, we'll be back at it hard and heavy going into pre-draft season, hopefully with a new head coach already in the office.
Yeah. Good stuff. Appreciate your time, my friend.
Congrats to you, Shane, on a great season and a great finish for the Gators this year.
Yeah, it was fun.
Good days are coming, man. Good to talk to you.
Hope so. That's JP Shadrick. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline.